Hebrew Israelite. I come out here weekend in and weekend out to prophesy the downfall of America. To let you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans know that you are the biblical Israelites according to the scriptures. And before we begin, as always, I'd like to say all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Kwakwadas. Double honors to my elders at Great Millstone. Honors to all the brethren out here doing the work and the will of the Father in truth and sincerity. And this is Jeremiah, chapter 28, verse 8. It's going to be one of these days out here, huh? And all these flies flying already. This is Jeremiah chapter 8. Salakia. Jeremiah chapter 28, verse 8. The prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesied both against many countries and against great kingdoms, of war and of evil and of pestilence. So when a prophet comes out, he comes to prophesy, meaning to say before, to tell of events that shall take place before they happen. And these events that the prophets come to warn you of are the war, evil, and pestilence, which are to come to these kingdoms and countries. Verse 9, the prophet which prophesied of peace, when the word of the prophet shall come to pass, then shall the prophet be known that the Lord have truly sent him. So when these prophecies come to pass, you're going to well understand and know that a prophet have been amongst you. All right? For these words that we speak, for these words that we come out to prophesy about are not our words, but the words of Yahweh, who you people evidently call God, the Most High, the Heavenly Father. Those are titles. His name is Yahweh. Through his son, the Savior, his name is Yahweh Shai, who you people ignorantly call Jesus. All right, and if both of those individuals walk the earth today, there will be so-called Negroes, so-called African Americans, so-called blacks. All right, and you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, you are the biblical Israelites according to the scriptures, not according to your skin color, not according to the language that you are speaking, not according to the lands that you are dwelling in. But if your father, or if your father is a so-called Negro, Latino, or Native American, then you yourself is a biblical Israelite. All right? Let's jump into these scriptures, man. See where we're gonna go. I know what I want to talk about. This Daniel, chapter 2. It's Daniel, chapter 2, verse 36. This is the dream. And when we will tell the interpretation thereof before the king. And what dream is this talking about? This is talking about the dream that Daniel had to interpret for the king of Babylon. When it came to the statue that the king had a dream about. Right? Verse 37. Thou, O king, art a king of kings. For the God of heaven have given thee a kingdom of power and strength and glory. And wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field and the fowls of the heaven have he given into thine hand, and have made thee ruler over them all. Thou art this head of gold. So thou art this head of gold. Who is he talking to? He was talking to the king. The king of what? The king of Babylon, the Babylonian Empire. It said, thou art this head of gold. All right? Continuing. Verse 39. And after thee shall arise another kingdom, inferior to thee, and another third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over all the earth. So what is that second kingdom that came after the Babylonian Empire? That second kingdom will be what? The Medo-Persian Empire. And then it said it will also be a third kingdom. What was that third empire after the Medo-Persian Empire? The Greek Empire. And the fourth kingdom, and it was going to be a fourth kingdom. All right? Fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things. And as iron that breaketh all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise. And what was the fourth kingdom? What kingdom came after the Greek Empire? The Roman Empire. And you are still in the Roman Empire. But you are what? In the extended leg of the Roman Empire, which is what? America and NATO. America representing the whore that rideth upon the beast, and the beast representing NATO. When you read in the scriptures, and it's talking about these different animals, all right? These animals, these things represents kingdoms and empires. The statue that we are reading about represents kingdoms and empires that would come. That was prophesied to come, and they have came, and they are here. Verse 41. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, the feet and toes of what? The feet and toes of the statue. Which what? It's the extended leg. When you look at the statue, you see the legs going down to the toes, to the feet. That is the extended leg of what? Of the Roman Empire. So whereas you saw the feet and toes, the extended leg of the Roman Empire, you see feet and toes. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided. Yeah, and the kingdom is divided. All right? You got partly strong countries, part of EU, NATO, and then you have weak countries that are part of EU, NATO. You see that? And America is part of NATO. And they shall be divided. And you see the division. You're witnessing the division already today. When you're dealing with what? When you're dealing with Ukraine versus Russia. It's a division within that. Within the toes. Within the feet.
Breaking news. Trump has officially pulled out of the Russia-Ukraine peace talks, declaring that Ukraine has no chance of winning this war. This morning it was confirmed that all negotiations for a ceasefire or peace deal have completely collapsed. The U.S. is done trying to broker any agreement. Zelensky continues to refuse giving up land for peace, and Trump has now told him flat out, then go fight and win the war yourself. Trump will no longer push for a Zelensky-Putin meeting, saying Zelensky is simply too difficult to work with. Meanwhile, Russia sees no reason to stop. On the battlefield, they're gaining ground daily. Casualties in Ukraine this year are at their highest, and Putin believes a ceasefire would only give Ukraine time to rebuild defenses. Zelensky still insists on a temporary ceasefire, not a final peace deal, because he wants to regain every inch of lost land. But many leaders, including Hungary's Viktor Orban, warn this is unrealistic and only costing more lives. So here's the question. Do you believe Ukraine can actually defeat Russia?
You got some European nations, some NATO nations, that's ready to back Ukraine. Then you got other European nations, other NATO nations that's not so willing to back Ukraine. They want to try to work it out diplomatically. They want to believe that Russia is going to come to the table and talk. You see? They're around here asking for peace and safety, saying peace and safety is going to come. Peace this, peace that. When the scriptures tell you what? When they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction. Yeah, we are not in the time of peace and safety. We are in the time of war, man. So when you have the understanding of the times that you are living in, you will well understand and know that what? That war is coming, that all our hell is about to break loose. And and that Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shah is about to start to visit the world that they made. You see? But there shall be in it of the strength of the iron, for as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with the miry clay. And as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. Yeah, this kingdom is partly strong and partly broken, man. All right, division, once again, running rampant throughout this empire, man. And this empire is what? The American Empire, the American / NATO EU empire, the extended leg of the Roman Empire, you see? And this division throughout it. Right? As the scriptures state, a kingdom divided cannot stand. Yeah, you are in the last waning moments of this empire having rule in the earth, man. You are in the downfall of America, which is Babylon the Great, the whore that rideth upon the beast, and that beast representing who? NATO EU. This real quick. This Matthew chapter 12, verse 25. And Yahweh Shah knew their thoughts and said unto them, every kingdom, and we're reading about a kingdom, right? Yeah, we're reading about what kingdom? The American Empire / NATO EU. You see that? We're reading about this empire, the extended leg of the Roman Empire. This is what kingdom we're reading about. And it said, what? Every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation. So this kingdom is already divided, and it is soon to be brought what? To desolation. You see that? And every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. And if Satan cast out Satan, he is divided against himself. And this is what you are witnessing. All right? You are witnessing Satan against Satan. All right? This man's kingdom is totally divided. Edomites fighting against Edomites.
Aussie! 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 Oi, oi, oi! Aussie! Oi! Aussie! Oi! Aussie! 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 Oi, oi, oi!
Thousands gathered in cities across the country calling for an end to mass immigration. Anti-immigration protesters and a pro-Palestinian rally clashed on Melbourne's Bourke Street. Organisers of the March for Australia rallies had denied connections to white supremacists and neo-Nazis in the lead-up to the event. But in Melbourne, prominent neo-Nazi Thomas Sowell was a keynote speaker.
If we do not stop immigration, then our death is certain.
Fake news, ABC!
Fake news, ABC!
Eroding our democracy!
Eroding our democracy!
In Brisbane, crowds gathered in the city centre with a range of flags, as well as anti-media and anti-government chants.
We all share one common cause here. We want to close the gates and stop immigration. We want to stop mass immigration. We want to stop your country from being stolen from you.
In Sydney, New South Wales police say the protests and counter-protests were largely peaceful, with one person arrested in Hyde Park for allegedly breaching the peace.
Pauline! Pauline!
Meanwhile, in Canberra, Pauline Hanson had a rock star reception among the thousands gathered in front of Parliament House.
It takes me back to 30 years ago, in 1996, when I wore this flag. And they tried to denigrate and have a go at me as being a proud Australian, to stand up for our Australian values.
Adelaide also attracted crowds, including one demonstrator holding a sign in support of Desi Freeman, the man who allegedly killed 2 police officers in Victoria's High Country. Protesters also gathered in regional cities across the country. In Townsville, crowds condemned flag burning.
We will not disrespect this flag. Anyone who disrespects it can leave. Yeah! Oppression becomes law, then resistance becomes duty.
But an Australian government minister says these views are the minority.
Our government does not support the events over this weekend. Every Australian deserves to be welcome in their own community.
Protesters across the country gave a number of reasons for attending, including cost of living concerns and the need to protect Australian culture.
Our country's financially on its knees right now, and all we do is we need to look after the Aussies here.
Satan versus Satan, devil versus devil, Lucifer versus Lucifer. You see? Yeah, it's going to be division all throughout this kingdom, all throughout this empire, especially over here in what you know as America, man. Soon to be civil war up over here, man. Unrest, man. Civil unrest. Chaos. And if Satan cast out Satan, he is divided against himself. How shall then his kingdom stand? So how you think this kingdom is going to stand, man? It's not going to stand. This kingdom is going to fall, and it's falling. All right? And once again, what kingdom are we in? The extended leg of the Roman Empire, which is what? The American Empire / NATO EU. You see? This is who empire, this is what empire we are in. And this empire is what? Divided. This empire is what? Partly strong, partly weak. All right? Mixed with miry clay and iron. For as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay, and as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. And whereas thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another. Yeah, they shall mix themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not what? They shall not cleave to one another. And this is what you're seeing, man. All right, you're seeing this empire, this kingdom trying its best, all right, to mix with the seed of men. Trying its best to come up with solutions. Trying its best to come up with agendas. Trying its best to come up with agreements to get everybody on what? To get everybody on one accord. But it shall not happen, man. All right? The kingdom shall continually be divided. Why? Because this kingdom has a date to fall. And we are near that fall. This is why you see the prophets out on the streets, man. Why you think the prophets are back out on the highways and the byways preaching these beautiful words, man? All right, preaching the gospel, man. The good news. This is the good news for you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, man. To know that this kingdom is about to be brought to desolation, man. About to be brought to an end. And after this king, guess who's up next, man? Your kingdom, man. And when I say your kingdom, meaning you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, for you are Jacob. For Jacob's name was changed to what? Changed to Yasharallah, Israel. And he had 12 sons, which happens to be what? The forefathers of you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. You see that? And our kingdom is next, after this kingdom. And once again, we are reading about what? This kingdom, and how it is what? Divided. You see? Partly strong and partly weak. Yeah, the Roman Empire, the extended leg of the Roman Empire. They shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another. Even as iron is not mixed with clay. And in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom. Yeah. In the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom. What do you think the prophets are out here doing, man? We're setting up the kingdom. Spiritually. What is the kingdom to come? Who is to rule next? I just told you. Who is to rule next? How do I know that? Let's see how we know this. Let's go to 2nd Ezra. Who's next up in rulership? Once again, we are what? In the extended leg of the Roman Empire, right? All right, we are at the bottom of the statue. there are no more rulerships after this for what you know as the other nations. All right. After this rulership, after this kingdom, the kingdom of heaven shall be established. Where at? On earth. You see that? The kingdom of heaven shall be established on earth as it is in heaven. See? This is 2nd Ezra, chapter 6. We'll start at verse 8. And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau was born, of him Jacob held first the heel of Esau. So going back to Genesis, when Jacob held the heel of Esau. Once again, who was Jacob? Jacob is Israel, Yasharali, which he had 12 sons. And those 12 sons are the forefathers of you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. So Jacob represents who? You so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, but you are the biblical Israelites. And it said his hand held first the heel of Esau, his brother. Who's Esau today? We're reading about Esau right now when it comes to his empire. You see? We're reading about him now. Who controls the Roman Empire? Who controls this extended leg of the Roman Empire? Hell, who controlled the Greek Empire? You see that? Who did that? Who has the control in the earth right now? Yeah, the so-called YT man. That would be Esau. Yeah, that is your wicked twin brother, you so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American. For Jacob, hand held first the heel of Esau. For Esau is the end of the world. So for Esau is the end of the world. So the end of that statue, who would be ruling? Esau. Esau will be ruling at the end of that statue in Daniel, for he is the end of the world. You see that? For he is the end of the world. And Jacob, and Israel, and you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, is the beginning of it, which is what? The kingdom of heaven, which shall be what? Established on earth as it is in heaven. And Jacob is the beginning of it that followed. You see that? And Jacob is the beginning of it that followed. So that is the kingdom which is to be set up next. So the extended leg, so the Roman Empire, shall I say, and the extended leg of the Roman Empire is ruled by who, according to the scriptures? Esau. You see that? And the kingdom that shall come next, that shall be an everlasting kingdom that shall stand forever, according to the scriptures, will be who? Jacob. All right, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, kingdom, which is what? The kingdom of heaven, which shall be what? Established on earth, where we shall do things on earth as they are done in heaven. You see that? This Daniel chapter 2, verse 44. And in the days of these kings shall Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shah of heaven, set up a kingdom. So in the days of what kings? In the days of the kings of Esau. He's the one, the so-called YT man, he's the one that has rulership right now. So in his days, in his final days of his kingdom, when it is partly strong and partly weak, when they are divided, the Yahweh Ba'ashem